What is up, guys? Welcome to the Impostor to Icon podcast. I am your host, your wingman, Thomas Edwards. And on this show, we help you overcome your inner imposter so you can become the icon of your life. And today, I'm super pumped to introduce this guest. He is someone that I actually don't know well, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to bring him on to get to know him well. I like his vibe. He's funny. He's doing a lot of really cool things, and I want to hear his story. And I thought, what better way to share that story with other people and like you? So I'm thrilled to have with us. His name's Damien Bradshaw, the visionary founder of Damien Bradshaw Consulting, a game changer in the world of public relations. He and I have crossed paths multiple times. We're in the same Facebook message group in an entrepreneur community. And like I said, he's always had valuable things to say, and he's always been active. And yeah, I just enjoyed his vibe, So I drafted a assumptive bio for him. I didn't ask for it, and he doesn't know this, but I always like to hype up my client, the people that I bring on. And so from humble beginnings and grappling with his own feelings of self-doubt, Damien has transformed into a leader who helps brands achieve visibility on the biggest stages like Forbes, Business Insider, Vogue, and more. But his path to success wasn't always clear. Like so many of us, Damien's faced obstacles, moments of uncertainty, and that nagging voice of imposter syndrome, just like you and me. Through grit, resilience, and a commitment to excellence, he not only built a successful PR empire, but also redefined how brands amplify their voices in an oversaturated market. And I imagine he applies these philosophies as a dad and as a family man, and we'll get into that as well. But I'm excited to get to know him more, his personal story of overcoming his own self-doubt, and the mindset shifts that fueled his rise and his strategies for transforming uncertainty into a tool for success. So without further ado, my man, Damien Bradshaw, welcome to the podcast.
Hi. Yeah, you definitely caught me off guard with that one.
Well, I'm glad to have you here, man.
I'm here for it. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, listen, man, I know that you were coming from the gym after a hard workout. You're with your daughter for a little bit. And so I just appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to be here, man. I love the fact that, one of the things that you said, you were like, I said I was going to be here, so I'm going to be here. I'm going to do my best. Not everyone does that. and I really appreciate and want to honor the integrity. Right. And so where did that come from?
Okay.
Or was that always there?
Like everything else, it developed. And it's also a case of looking at yourself and wondering what it is that you want for yourself in your space, and what do you want people to see? Because you as a person can be asking for integrity, but then you have to ask yourself, do you show the integrity that you're asking people for? And one of the major things as well too, I do get people wanting me to be on podcasts. And I have to say and I kind of slinked away from them. I don't know why. I kind of slinked away, but I did do some before. And there were a couple that I had to reschedule, and I couldn't make them. But I would always reschedule them, and I will always turn up, because I don't want to be that person who's known to just know that they have an appointment, know that they have something that's supposed to happen, and they just don't show up. I've seen that happen too many times. It's happened to me, where people book calls and then they don't show up. I don't know what happened. They just fall off the face of the earth. So it's the whole thing about the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd want them to do unto you. If you don't want someone to do that to you, don't do it to them. It's simple. And I know we do, as humans, get busy. We do make mistakes, and I'm not going to hold that against anyone. But you know how it is. When you see someone doing the same thing over and over again, it's a habit, and you know what to expect. Mm-hmm. But in terms of showing up, that came from also years ago, my childhood especially, because people not showing up in my life, especially the integral people. So I even was talking to a friend a couple nights ago, and I was saying basically, whenever I saw something that I did not like, something that I experienced that I did not like, that wasn't supposed to happen, I would do the opposite, which is something not everyone does. Because it's not easy for, like, someone was mistreated by a parent. So I decided I don't want to do that as a parent. Somebody didn't show up for me as a child, so I'm not going to do that to my kids. So it's like, I try to just do the opposite to it. Not saying I'm perfect. I'm far from perfect, and I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. But at least one thing that I have taken upon myself is I am a person who always takes accountability for anything that I do wrong, any mistakes. I would always say, all right, well, you know what? That was my fault. That was my bad. But I don't like to relish in look at the mistake. I like to look at, well, how can we solve it? That's the
Mm,
next question. We can go over something over and over again and get to no end. But if you really want to solve a problem, you solve it, right?
yeah.
And yeah, so that's pretty much where that came from, and it just culminated over time, making a lot of mistakes and just learning from the mistakes. Because as a person in life, in business, as a parent, in whatever area you're in, you have to make mistakes. If you're somebody who like dead set on not making mistakes, you are not going to get very far at all. Nope, you're not going to get far. You have to make those mistakes, and you have to learn quick. Like fall hard, learn quick, and just go. That's what you're supposed to do. That's
was
yeah.
was that kind of the environment growing up for you, or was it very different?
Um, um, well, I would say that to a certain degree, I did have a supportive environment because when I was younger, I was a sponge. I loved reading. I
Mm,
love reading. I had books like piled up in my room. I'd always be reading like dictionaries, reading tell me why books, learning everything about the world. So it's like for years, right up to 18, I was just reading. So I just took in, and that went straight into my adulthood, but it transformed a bit differently because in 2014 or so, I was working like for different companies and what's not, and everything was going well till I lost my job in 2014, and I had a young family to deal with, and I gave myself my 5 minutes of breaking down because I at that point I didn't know what to do honestly,
yeah.
and I only know how to be an employee up to that point. But then I got into the online world and I started researching, and I could not get enough of it. Honestly, I was a sponge. I literally learned everything I possibly could, tried everything I possibly could get into. And this is someone who I knew absolutely nothing about remote work or even doing anything online. I lived in a small, tiny island in Caribbean, but I learned fast. I made mistakes. I fell hard. I learned quick. Um, but it's also difficult knowing that when you're making mistakes that you have a family in tow. Because when you
Yeah.
make mistake, when you fall, they fall with you. When you go up, they go with you. So that's another thing as well too. You have as a man that you have to take a long travel with as you go ahead. Is that you have these things with you, knowing that okay, my next step. What is my next step? Because it's going to affect a whole lot of people. It's not just about me. So, you have to also be asking questions like say, hey, this is what the deal is right now. Um, what should we do from here? What's the next step? I mean, these are the possible plans, and this is how we can go forward. But but you're still a leader as well too, so you still have to make decisions. So it's just that balance that you got to try to figure out. And
Yeah.
yeah, over the years, it was hard for me to figure that balance out. It was hard
It's
with the kids. I'm working from home, and
yeah.
yeah,
It's
it is pretty
as
hard.
a fellow dad, right? You can relate to this. When you're now responsible for other people, right? And all of a sudden, like you said,
Hmm.
when you fall, they fall, right? And while they're falling with you, they're looking at you to see if you're going to get up, right? And what you're going to do in response to that fall, right?
Yeah,
That's the
exactly. Yeah.
that's the big part. What what was can
Oh,
you
that's a big,
share like
wonderful part.
yeah. Can you share like one of the more challenging, I guess, falls that you had to pick yourself up from and what you learned from it that you were able to pass on to your kids?
Well, it was that one when I actually lost my job. That was one biggest lesson there because I that day I literally fell apart. I fell apart because everything was like, and I kind of like saw it coming because I myself was getting tired of what they were doing, how they were doing things, and there was no accountability with them. But
Mm.
they always make it seem like everything was your fault. So it's like, they eventually, and I mean, who was in charge of me he was not an accountable person at all. So it's like, whatever reason they could find, they would find. So, but it still hit hard, honestly. And I'm a person that I'm not the type of person that likes to blame people per se, right? I like to, if I know I had a part in anything, I will claim what I did. But I think that goes to one spectrum too much because I take on a bit too much onto my system, right? And I'm like, you know what? There's certain things that I should not be owning, right? I have to know that, some things happen and you have no control over it. But if that didn't happen, at the same time, if that didn't happen, that would not propelled me where I am now. And I'm glad my kids also saw that because they know that I didn't lay down for too long. In terms of what happened, I got to work. I dug in every hole. I tried to um, put all whatever I had to good use, my brain, my drive, my motivation, whatever, I put it to good use. And within, I think in less than a year, I had landed a job with a B2B data research company in California, right?
Mm.
And this is me in Barbados, they're in California. It was funny because when they were looking for people who had college degrees, and there was something that messed up the whole process because then they didn't get back to me because I don't think that they received what I sent to them. I didn't
Mm.
bother with it, but then something I was told that I should follow up on that, and then they started following on it, and I told them, well, hey, I applied, and I showed them everything, and they said, oh, well, you do fit the criteria, so they don't understand what it is, and so because of that, I got in, and
Oh,
it
wow.
because of that, when I started working for them, when I started working with them, I actually turned out to be one of their best data researchers
Mm.
because I was the fastest. I I didn't even know I had a knack for it. I can find almost any bit of information in seconds. Like
You
so,
feel
it's
like that was
like
like
anything I'm
connected
looking
to,
for, anything I
I was gonna say, do you feel like that was connected
yeah,
to
I don't
it's
know.
like your
It's
love of
like
learning?
it could be, yeah, it could be because it's like it was kind of like intoxicating because their teachers they're blended human talent with machine learning and data research, meaning that they use technology and using the actual power of the human mind and our skill set to be able to find information faster than just using all tech, which is pretty decent because honestly, people are still faster by the end of the day when you look in certain areas. And
Yeah.
I was one of the lead. I was one of the lead data research. Anytime they needed they brought on new projects, and we had projects from like eBay, Amazon, and these big guys. Whenever they needed new verticals set for the project, they'd come to me and say, "Hey, Damien, we need you to go look for these leads with these verticals. Spend an hour doing it." And when I spend an hour doing it and I give them the results, and they're like, okay, no, cut that results in half because that's the speed a normal person will work at. So basically, that's how that's literally how they judged it. They would have to cut
Wow.
it in half because I was twice as fast as anyone else. Um, but as much as fast as I was, my project manager was faster than me. All my project
Mm.
managers, they were still faster than me. So even that's why they're the managers. They were the managers because they were so really good at their job. I actually became a junior manager in 6 months, and then they wanted to promote me straight to project manager, but did the junior manager thing first. But
Mhm.
after a while, I decided I really honestly I always wanted to do design because that's what I was trained to do. That's what my associate degree was, design. I never got to do it. I just went from college to what the next couple of years doing nothing but printing jobs, digital printing, which I got my training in, but I still wanted to really do design. So I really tried to get into more as much as I can. At work, Fiverr, I did what I could for the next couple of years. I landed some clients and did really good work. And one particular client, when I did so much good work, they wanted to bring me on full time. And they wanted me as a creative director. So, I tell them, well, yeah, I'll do it. So that was my first, like my official, my own thing that I did working for them. It was a branding agency in Los Angeles, and I was actually the creative director for Giant Bicycles. I mean, I worked with that was their biggest client, and I did all their work. We
Yeah.
opened a lot of partner stores across the U.S. and whatnot. So it was a learning experience for me. I'm the type of good person. I do not pass up opportunities at all. That's just built into me. If I'm given a really good opportunity, I'm not gonna pass it up. But now I would tell you right now, with everything I've learned, everything that I've experienced, if you bring an opportunity in front of me, it has to be really damn good. Like it has to align with not only what I'm doing, but also what I believe now. Because now I'm in this phase where there's a lot more maturity, and I'm not gonna just connect myself with any and everything or with everyone, because I've been there, I've done that, and I've gone through a lot of people who say things, but honestly, a lot of people just say things, and they
Yeah.
don't ever. A lot of times they don't mean it. So I'm very stringent with that, honestly, and I also try to be stringent with what I do as well too, because I know I'm held to a standard. I make mistakes as well too. Like every other day, I made some type of mistake. But the thing is,
You just hope it's not the big one.
yeah, don't ascribe to the mistake.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just hope. I was taught, my one of my old bosses taught me this. He said, Damien, I would never fault you for making a mistake. I just don't want you to make a stupid mistake. he,
There you
he would
go.
always say that.
Yeah.
He said, make all the mistakes you want, just don't make a stupid one. So I tell my
Yeah.
kids that. I tell them, you guys, you live to learn. You can make mistakes. I don't have a problem you making mistakes. Just don't make a stupid one. Like seriously, one that you
So
can't really come back from.
yeah. So I have a question for you, because that journey is pretty awesome. And like, you were considered, I mean, your project managers at the data research position, like, you had project managers who were so much faster than you, but you were the best among your level peers.
Mhm.
And that sounded like there was a career trajectory there for
Mhm.
you that, could have been really promising. I mean, you were really good at it. So,
Yeah.
you know, you, you had your passion, it
Yeah.
sounded like,
Okay. Mhm.
right? But like, was there any risk involved that you sensed, or like any feeling of, man, like, am I really making this right choice of leaving what could be this amazing career for something that I'm passionate about?
They, despite it was an amazing thing, there was still a lot of jagged edges in there. Like
Hmm.
there was still a lot of control that they had to do because, all right, imagine this: you have this project that these projects that are very, they have to be very controlled and what's not. And then you have this guy who is super good at what he does, and he's literally like going through projects really fast and maths, maths, things. It's like, how are you gonna keep him going? So that's another thing because at that point we were paid for the amount of time we put in,
Mm.
and I'm fast. So I have to be constantly on projects inside the company. I have to constantly be going and going and going, and it was tiring. It got a little burnout. Yeah, because
Mm.
there were times when I was on different shifts. It was nighttime shifts sometimes, and sometimes then afterward your brain starts to you know slow down a bit.
I imagine that.
But not saying that you don't slow down with work. It's just that it becomes so monotonous that it's just like it drains on you mentally.
Hmm.
So I then had to really think about, like what else can I do? What else can? And I won't lie to you, it was a bumpy journey. It was a really bumpy journey. And
Yeah.
when they say start from the bottom, I started from the bottom. And that's what I want people to know, especially. I started from the bottom. You don't just automatically just jump to come on in the online space and you're up there. No, like literally no one, almost no one does that. You have to
Yeah.
work through a journey. Like people will get to know you, people will meet you. You start at one point, you start charging a certain amount, you start doing these odds and jobs. Sometimes you start working for yourself and then go back working with a company. There's no particular way that it's ascribed that you subscribe to it, but you have to be willing to go through the journey and know that it's not an easy one.
Mm.
I've seen many. people online, and a lot of people online, they talk with me, and I know it's not easy for them. But that's why I also like to know that these people are very human. They're very human. They go through their everyday problems and whatnot, and I like that people can come and talk and feel this, that they can feel safe enough to just be that way and just vent, and then they go back to what they were doing on the front space, because that doesn't, then they don't have to, what's the word, they don't have to break the integrity of their brand, right? I know some
Yeah.
brands are built around humanness, humanity, and vulnerability. Not all brands are built that way, and you can't be that way
Yeah.
all the time. You with everything, so I can understand that as well too. It's just not understanding how people work and stuff like that, and remembering that you're still dealing with human beings by the end of the day, no matter how you
Yeah.
look at it. Humans and emotions and all of that, you're dealing with it.
Yeah. I love that. And you know what? You inspired a question that I think would be really fun to talk about, just coming from your background in branding and in creative, and just talking about also like the human experience, right? And so I have the belief that everyone has their own human brand, right? Like their life can be a brand within itself if they're able to see it that way. And inside of that brand, there's some core values, right?
Yeah.
And so um, and then in that there's messaging and the whole thing,
Yep.
right? What would you say to someone if who like maybe doesn't know their own personal brand when it means to life, not business, because it's different, but it also there's similarities there too, right? But like,
Hmm.
how would you like if you were talking to your kids and you were like,
Yeah.
listen, we're gonna set up a human brand for you. Like, where would you start to kind of help them create their own personal brand of life?
It always starts with the belief system.
Mm,
Well, well, two things here. It starts with your belief system, and then it also has to do with your experiences. Your belief system and your experiences coexist kind of like in the same space, right? Even though one affects the other. Like there is like a tug and pull back and forth. You're always getting experiences, but you always have this core belief system as well too, which develops over time. So your brand should also come from what you want, your core belief system as well too, because that's also what drives your mission. Because you're driven by your mission to do something because of the experiences that you went through, which then develop your core belief system, and then you now have a
mm,
mission to do this, right? And it's going to be driven by the human experiences along with that core belief supporting it. Because if you can have a million experiences, but it could be all jaggedy. But then if you have that solid core belief holding everything up, it's going to keep you on point with the mission that you're aiming for. So ask people what it is. What do you want in life? What do you truly want to happen in life? If you get people talking long enough, they will tell you everything you need to know. They will tell you everything. Just talk to them in casual conversation, even. They will tell you. They don't even know sometimes. And I have people in my network, like professionals, who when we're just having conversation and they're talking to me, and I'm gonna tell them exactly what it is that their brand is about, and they're like, it's like this moment in their head, like, well, I didn't realize that. I said, well, it didn't come from me, that came from you. It's just that
yeah.
we are so inundated with the experiences that we don't realize when we actually bring it out. It's just that there's a little hidden factor there now that stops us from recognizing when we brought our core brand to the front, and it's called emotion. Because humans
Mm,
get inundated with emotion. When you have experiences, they all come with emotions, and some of them don't come with great emotions.
yep.
So then you don't, then that can be a really think blinder, a really big blinder for you that you don't see it. That's why I have clarity calls, right? Clarity call, basically when you take on the discovery day, people call it discovery call. I call it clarity call because when you're done in the call with me, you should have a clear idea, a clear vision of what it is you really want to do. Because sometimes people come to me with this whole fascinating thing. I want to do this. I want to do that. I said, stop. Like, well, who are you? Why do you
Yeah.
really want to do all of this stuff? because sometimes you really don't need all this stuff. It's like in life, as we get older, we realize stuff. It's like we thought we needed so much. Like in the last year, we've been traveling because we left Barbados and we've been traveling and we've been living out of suitcases. And it only dawned on us like we had a house full of stuff. So it's like humans, like we just collect things through memories and experiences. And honestly, by the end of the day, you still have the memories and the experiences, even when the things are gone. All these things. When you really just needed to know that you
Yep.
already had everything in front of you. You just needed to think, stop, and think, and it'll all come out. I know sometimes and you'll have more clarity in your mind than you've ever had before. Some may say that it is akin to psychology, but that's what a brand psychology is. And you know why people do things, then it makes it easier for you to understand brand strategy and what to do. And this is something that everyone, and it's funny because even if you yourself don't take the time to do stuff with yourself, you can still, it's funny. And this is the one thing that all designers will tell you. That you're going to see them say over and over. I can build anything for my clients, but when it comes to me, I have no idea. I am blank. The average designer, the average
Mm.
brand person will tell you that. Our job, we are built to help people so much that we never stop to figure out how to help ourselves. That's
Yeah.
literally it with the human being. We are so busy helping everyone else. We do not know how to help ourselves. And you're going to see a recurring. I was taught that there's nothing new under the sun. People may come online in the online space saying that they invented this, invented that, they came up with this core belief. A lot of it is just rewrapped. There's literally nothing under the sun that you can invent. You just
Mm.
need to understand the very core and basics of something, and you can go any direction with it. That's how humans work. Because if you don't, then well, it's gonna be a lot harder for you to understand how to help them.
Yeah. I
So
love that,
yeah,
man. I was talking to a client earlier today, and I you know, I personally know that a lot of people's the meaning of their life is revolved around their beliefs and then their experiences, right? And then the meaning they like make of those things. And when we make mistakes, or have regrets, or we have done things in the past that weren't necessarily the best, we define our lives based on these mistakes and these regrets. And I told them, you are defined by
yeah,
who you believe yourself to be. Your life is defined by the decisions that person makes, right? So if you want to change your life, you change your decisions, but you don't. But your life is not a reflection of always a reflection of who you are. You're the one that makes the
yep,
meaning behind it, right? And so,
exactly.
um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's so important, and I think every brand should have a mission, right? I
oh,
say it that way
and they
because I'm
should.
sure you see,
Yeah.
like, sometimes some brands don't have a mission, right?
Nah, it's just like they're just going like rocket ships and just going straight up, and it's just like, okay, where are you headed?
Yeah, where are you going,
They don't know.
right? And yeah, and direction is so important, because when you're aiming towards something, you're aiming based on your personality, your beliefs, but also your experiences, because all that defines where you decide you want to go from there, and then you shoot for it. But if you're I always like to use the analogy of Google Maps, right? Like, if you don't put a destination there in the app, it only knows your current location, and that's even if you have that on, right? Sometimes you don't even know where you are,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not really taking inventory of that, right?
Yep.
And so, I appreciate kind of the way you walked that through, because if anyone's listening and they're trying to figure out, how do you find purpose? How do you overcome the inner, critic or the imposter that's trying to tell you can't do that? I think the more powerful your brand, the more powerful your mission, and you start to not listen to that part of you that's trying to talk you out of it, because you're so clear, your beliefs are intact, you're taking the lessons of your experiences, as you said, and it becomes a part of your brand that's fueled by a mission that's bigger than definitely your inner critic, right? Maybe even bigger than you yourself. And so I think that's really powerful the way you walk that through. Yeah. It's so good.
And don't get me wrong, I struggle with my inner critic. Like, no, seriously, it has been a fight. And he always wants to pop up at the weirdest times, like when especially in the middle dead set of getting something done, because when I have a lot of work to get done and I'm just plowing through it, just pops up right in the middle, like, yeah, so what are you doing? Like, seriously. I'm like, go away. But,
is that the way is that the way?
No, seriously, for the longest time. Yeah, he's just like, I mean, I'm in the middle. I'll be honest with you. Some days I wake up and I'm just like golden. I know what I have to get done. I know, like, okay, all right, I have to get this done with the kids. We have to then leave home. We have to go get this done. We have to go get this done. And I would successfully get through like all of that. And then completely the opposite on the other end. It's just like this other voice. Who are you? Are you really good at what you're doing, or are you just pretending until something goes wrong? It's like these questions do pop up. And I would tell anyone who gets these voices, like, don't be afraid to acknowledge the fact that these voices come. Don't acknowledge to be afraid to say that, hey, I go through this. Because there are people there who are making, but it's not like they don't care about the people that they're working with, but they always second guess themselves. And that also comes a lot from your experiences in life. Like, type of person you are, but you still do it, because for me, I'm a dad, and I have a household to take care of as well too. But I keep going because I know my he's there, but he doesn't stop me, right? So I don't let him stop me, because I also have a vision and dream that's bigger than me. I know God put it on my heart, and I work towards it. The inner critic is still there, but he is not strong enough to stop me, right? He may get his little jabs in, but no. Yeah. He's not probably where that whole thing "do it scared" come from as well too, because there are a lot of people who are good at planning and going through, and they're like aiming for a goal. When that goal finally comes, they're scared to death because they're so successful. It's right there. I didn't expect to get this far. That's what a lot of people say. I didn't expect to get this far. What? No. So now you actually have to walk the walk at this point.
Yeah. Yep.
So then,
yeah.
But it traded is just
Yeah. No, it's so good, man. I mean, here's the thing, right? We all aspire, us high achievers, we aspire for the things that we want we want to accomplish, but we don't really consider the responsibility that comes when we acquire those things, right? Whether it's the responsibility of the accolades or the achievement. And the number one thing that I've learned, because that was something that I was afraid of. I wanted the things, but I was afraid of what it meant by having those things. And I would somehow find a way to self-sabotage myself. And just when I was on the cusp of getting it, I would, do something that would affect it. And what I realized is it's the fear of what it means, right? And what it means is if you're able to hit your mark and set a new standard, that new standard now becomes the baseline. And this is what people will expect of you moving forward. Here's a great case study, right? Our kids, right? Our kids are, I mean, I won't speak for your kids because I don't know them, right? But my daughter, she knows how to set the bar for expectations, and she knows how to move that bar in a way that's, you know, if kids had a courtroom, she would be the top attorney in that room, because she just knows how to negotiate. She knows how to make a compelling case, and she knows how to push boundaries. And listen, I'm her dad. Like, I'm gonna empower her to question and to ask and to negotiate, because that's what the real world is like, you know.
Exactly,
She's not always going to win, and she needs to learn that too. But I also like to concede sometimes, because I want her efforts to be rewarded to a healthy capacity. But you know, once I do that, now that becomes her new standard. She expects now that to live at that standard that she's now worked hard to create for herself inside of our dynamic. And it doesn't always work that way, but I don't wrong her or fault her for feeling that way, right? And so for most of us, the fear is coming from the realization that, oh man, once I get this thing, or once I achieve this mark, now it's going to come with new responsibilities that's going to force me to level up even more.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's where the inner imposter really comes in to say, you don't need to do that, bro. Like, all that effort's not worth it.
Yeah. It's like you're never, that was never you in the first place. Come on. We all know that.
Yeah. Right.
But that's the fight right there. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I mean, that's life. And I also my favorite, like, when you want something, God sets you up for it. He sets you up for it. You just have to be ready. Like, a lot of people ask for things and they don't really, deep down inside, they don't believe that they're gonna get, you know. The average person doesn't believe that they're gonna get it. There's like, all right, well, let me just take a wild throw and hope that it hits the mark. And when it comes, they're like deer in headlights. They don't know what to do next. Yeah. But
yeah, there's an importance of being ready for the thing that you want to bring into your world, right? And the visualization of that is key, because that's another tool you can use against the imposter within you that's trying to tell you you don't deserve that, you're not worthy of that, you're not good enough for that, and all that. I'm actually right now working on a quiz that can actually help you answer a few questions, and it can actually help you identify the name of your imposter. So you can actually give it a name, you can understand its personality, and then you can understand how to overcome it with various practices and tools that you can use, you know? And so I think it's important when we hear this, because you said it yourself, bro. It doesn't go away, right? That's something that people aren't really willing to talk about.
Believe it or not. Yeah,
it doesn't.
It doesn't go away out here. It doesn't go away. There. As long as you exist, they exist with you. Understand that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As long as you're willing to, they exist with you.
Yeah. As long as you're willing to push yourself, like you're gonna have that part of you trying to talk you out of it. Now the difference is when you have the tools, like faith is can be considered a tool, but it's also part of your core belief system. Right? Like, you know, my higher power, who I call God, right, is my bro, and I connect with him all the 24/7. And we believe in each other. And we have to believe in each other to carry out the mission that I feel called to do, and I feel like God has given me. So that's
what it's supposed to be, you know.
Yeah.
You're supposed to believe it. Like, actually, when it comes down to it, God expects us to believe in him. But he already believes in us. Like, that's what people miss. He wholeheartedly already believes in us. But it's us that have the problem believing in him, right? And that's where the little disconnect happens. Like, he already knows what you can do, what you're capable of doing. But you have to believe you're capable of doing it too.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, and whether, you know, whoever's listening here, like whether you believe in a higher power or if you believe in God, whatever that might be, the way I like to kind of simplify, like if I were to simplify this, right? Like, you know, there's something out there. Imagine if there's something out there that actually was paying attention to you, paying attention to what you're here to do. And they're paying such attention to you, whatever it might be, higher power, God, forces, universe, the trees around us, Gaia, whatever you want to call it. Imagine that they're paying so much attention to you, 1 out of 8 billion people, that they're willing to do what it takes to help you live out your dream, to help you live out your mission, to live out your brand. If you had a small piece of you that believed that someone was paying, or something was paying attention to that level, you know, knowing that that thing that's paying attention to you believes in you so much that they're wanting to pay full attention to you, it could completely transform your life, you know, just around your core beliefs and how those beliefs infuse everything else that you talked about in terms of the meaning behind your experiences, and then the brand and the mission, right? And so, you know, the imposter will always stick around. They'll always be there, but it may not stick around as long. It might get a little bit quieter. It might be weaker because your mission's more powerful, but it'll always be a part of you. And I think it's important to get to know that part of you, right? Call it a name, identify it, get to know it, be intimate with it. So, you know, when it, like you said, like when it creeps up, when you're doing all this great stuff and it's like, what are you doing? Right? like that has a personality that you can get to know, and you know how to communicate with it to say, hey man, like chill out.
That's like, just go away. Come on. I give you a cookie or something.
Yeah. Right. So that's awesome, man. Well, I so appreciate this conversation, man. Thank you so much for this. And, you know, the way I like to wrap up this conversation, I like to kind of do some quick fire questions. So I have 5 questions, and then I have a bonus one at the end to give you, and then you can let people know where they can find you. Okay. So here's the first one. What book are you reading right now?
I'm currently reading Sabri's book, Sell It Crazy. I have to finish it. So that's what I'm reading. Yeah, Sell It Crazy.
Nice. Okay. Who is a mentor of yours that you haven't met yet?
Me in person? Just someone I haven't met in person?
Mm-hmm.
A mentor that I haven't met in person, somebody that I would want to meet in person.
Yeah.
Well, I think I kind of met that person already. Yeah, when I was in Mexico, this guy, Taishan, I met him already. I really, as a mentor, I look at him like he's really good at what he does. And I got the chance to meet him already, so that was good for me. That made me feel really good.
That's awesome, man. I don't know if you're a game player.
I haven't met yet. No.
Go ahead.
Say that again.
No. What were you gonna say?
No, if it's someone if it's someone I would like to meet, there's someone also that I look up to in this area. A guy called Kamanzi. I would like to meet him.
Yeah. Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
What game are you playing right now? I don't know if you like to play games, but if you are, what game are you playing?
I literally only play one right now. This one called Mobile Legends. And that's a team sport game. I only play that. And that's in between just to take breaks from my work. I just play for like 5-10 minutes and then like back up to what
back to it. Yeah. Well, sometimes you need that to recover, right? It's good, man.
Yeah. I just do it to really get my head out of everything.
Yeah. It's helpful to have those tools available, you know. Next question. What advice that you've come across recently that's been really powerful?
Advice that's been powerful. Recently that's been powerful. Give yourself grace. That's very powerful. Give yourself grace.
Yep. All right. And then last of the 5. What are you most excited about right now?
what I'm most excited about. But the two things. One, I'm excited about we working the business, and we're like going like full high ticket with everything, like full high
Yeah.
ticket. Like we handle your we're gonna take you from being a zero to hero, from a nobody to the anybody. Like we got press, TV, exclusive TV shows, podcasts. We're going to make people big. That's the aim. That's one. But the second one as well too is also, we I got my ID card today where we are right now in Ghana. So it feels like
Nice.
things are becoming real. Things are becoming real and things are
Yeah.
happening. So
That's exciting, man. That's very
that's what I'm
exciting.
excited about. Yeah, it
Yeah, I
is
love it.
a completely new country, and you're just making things happen. Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's really exciting. So here's the bonus question. What does it mean to you to become iconic?
Okay. Yeah, that's the funny part. I don't think I'm iconic. That's the thing. What does it mean to become iconic, though? That's the thing. I don't know, because being iconic to me is so subjective. Like, being iconic is just based on the people around you. The belief comes from them, not from me. I don't believe I'm iconic. They believe I'm iconic. So honestly, I just continue to live in my core belief, and I try to live up my values and try to do my work as best as possible. And it just, I guess it just happens. People just believe it. So who am I to tell them not?
Yeah. Well said, man. Well said. Well, yeah, I appreciate you, bro. Thanks for taking the time. Where can people find you if they want to get to know you more and work with you?
Well, they could just go to my site, brands.convert.com, because I have my Bradshaw.com, but brands.convert.com is going to look the exact same on the other site for now. I'm moving over to this brand again. So they go in here, they can book a call, and we can have a chat.
Awesome. Appreciate you, brother. Go back and enjoy that time with your daughter and rest
Thank you very much.
in the gym.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, man.
We'll
talk
sir.
again
It's
soon.
10 p.m. here now, so I'm going to, no problem. I'm going to have a restful night. And you too. And thanks.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Awesome, man. Well, I hope you guys appreciated that episode. If you did, give it a like. And of course, please subscribe. I put out episodes every single Friday, whether it's me or with a special guest like Damien. And if you guys are looking for some additional support, reach out to me. I am at the professional wingman across most social media. My DMs are open. And I will see you guys again next week. See you then.